coming to you live from Alien Con 2018 in the beautiful state of California in Pasadena, which is right outside Los Angeles. Hello, everybody. My name's Sandman. I'm going to be your host for the next, little while. We're just going to leave it open-ended. Alien Con 2018, second ever Alien Con, is over, and had a good time. Not without its faults, shall we say, but it's only the second one. They still got a lot of growing pains and still got a lot of learning left to do. But I had a wonderful time. I made some new friends, some good contacts, two of those which are here in studio with me tonight. And we're going to be talking about our experiences at Alien Con as well as a few other things. And I'd like to take this time to introduce you to Tasha and Betty, two first-time Alien Con attendees.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, so Tasha, we'll start with you since I met you first.
Okay.
So, tell me, what got you interested in coming to something like this? Because this is obviously not a mainstream thing, and people kind of look at you a little bit weird. I'm used to it, so it doesn't bother me. But what got you interested in coming to something like this?
Well, actually, Betty. We met through our work, and as we were becoming friends, we started following each other on social media, started hanging out socially as well. At a certain point, she disclosed, I think you posted on your social media that you were watching Ancient Aliens. I liked it, and I said, That's exactly what I'm doing at this very moment. Wow. And then it was sort of, she told my husband around Christmas time that as a gift for her birthday from her fiance that she was going to be coming here. And she told him, would you consider getting Tasha the tickets? Aww. And we can go together.
Yeah. So it's
here you are.
Yeah, so it's our first experience, and it's been a lot of fun for us.
We've had a great time. It's our first trip together.
Yes.
Girls trip.
Yes.
That can be dangerous.
We've been good.
Yes, definitely.
Sure you have. Yeah, to the husbands and fiancés back at home, they're great. They're anything they're not supposed to. I just met them. So, Betty, what about you? What got you interested in something like this?
Okay, so I've been watching the History Channel Ancient Aliens actually for about 7 or 8 years. Mm-hmm. And so I saw the commercials that they were having the Alien Con, and I figured that would be something really, really cool to experience. So I asked my fiance if he could, he always asks me what I want for my birthday. My birthday is in October. So I've been waiting since October for this moment. And it's been amazing. So, if he would get me the tickets for me to come over here, and he did. So, it's been a lot of fun, definitely. So it's just something like a different kind of experience. I've never had anything like this. I've never been to California. So it's my first time. So it's first time for a lot of things. So it's been definitely really, really fun and really awesome to experience this with my friend. So
what, as far as the television show, I know you're both fans of the show, as I am. I've been watching since season 1. Mm-hmm. Never miss an episode. If I do, I have it on DVR and I go back and I watch it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what got you interested in that show? Why Ancient Aliens? What's special about that to you?
Well, for me personally, my mom one day, who actually lives in Tennessee, which I understand is where you're from. Yeah. She was watching one of the episodes, and she mentioned to me, I'm watching this show. There's this funny guy on there with his hair. Turn to the channel and start watching this. You might like it. Yeah. So I don't even know if I did that day, but at another point, I think I was flipping around channels maybe a couple weeks later or something, and I started watching it, and I love anything that has to do with Egypt or archaeology, and I love space. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be an archaeologist, then I wanted to be an astronaut. So I started watching, and it kind of hit on several things of interest to me personally. Okay. And loved the guy with the crazy hair. Come to find out, that's Giorgio. Everybody knows Giorgio. Completely obsessed and in love with.
Yeah. As you can see by your Sukalicious.
Yes, we have our Sukalicious shirts on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Autographed. Thank you,
Oh,
Georgia.
wow.
Yes.
You can never wash those shirts now, you know?
Literally, yeah.
If you go home, hang them up.
Yes, pretty much.
So anyway, I interrupted you, so continue.
So I just, after that, I made it a point to start just watching the series. I got hooked. It's like that, you know.
Yeah.
You just get hooked into it, and it's actually very calming.
It's fascinating, a lot of the things that they say, and especially, you know, they refer to the Bible in a lot of instances. And a lot of the theories and the things that they say really makes a lot of sense as far as, like, you know, because in those times they were not as advanced. So how could all these things really be possible? So it's really interesting and fascinating, you know, to hear different twists of the stories, you know, from the Bible and other places. Also, like how
Pumapunku.
Came about. Machu Picchu and the pyramids and all that stuff is very fascinating stuff.
And is that kind of what drew you to the show, Betty?
I have a friend that kind of told me a little bit about it many years ago. So he's all into metaphysics, and he in numerology and things like that, and I've always had like an open mind and wanted to explore, you know, more of, you know, different kinds of experiences. And he mentioned to me about that show, that there was like an episode that they were talking about acoustic levitation, which was very interesting to me. I was like, oh my God. So some of the stuff has been really interesting and just fascinating to learn and to watch. And every even though they show reruns, like on Fridays in the morning, I turn on Ancient Aliens, and it stays there all day.
Same for me.
Yeah.
And even though if it's repeat episodes, every time I learn or pick up something new.
Yeah.
You do.
And it's just very interesting and fascinating. My fiance, you know, at first he was like, "Why are you watching that?" And then now he's like hooked too, because he loves he you know, for him knowledge is power, so he loves to learn. He's a very educated man. Retired Special Forces, served 25 years in the Army as a Green Beret.
All right. That's great.
Yeah, he's very educated. And so he, you know, they started talking about Egypt, and he's always been fascinated with Egypt and you know, their culture and all that stuff. So, you know,
right up his alley. Then he should have been watching the whole time.
So then we started watching that, and he's like, wow, like, so now he's like really into it. So now he watches it with me. So it's been pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So
and you couldn't talk him into coming?
He's not. He's like, well, I mean, no, he's not like that.
Husbands didn't want to come.
No, he's like, no. Yeah, you can go and have a good time and enjoy yourself, but no, he's not that type.
Yeah.
Well, my friend that's with me, I really wanted him to be on the podcast.
Yeah.
But he was like, no. He's been with me before on the podcast, and we used to do an annual thing called Skeptics Night, and he's a big skeptic.
Okay.
And I brought him here. I pretty much like twisted his arm and said, "Man, this is going to be a great adventure," and blah blah blah. And he had something that he wanted to do that was kind of on the way. And I was like, it's great. We can go do what you have to do. We'll do that first, and then we'll come here, and we'll spend a week together. It'll be great. And kind of, like I said, twist his arm, so he bought a ticket for this, and it's not up his alley either. But he loves the show.
Really?
But his love for the show comes more from a history type aspect and an archaeological type deal, and me personally, I love everything about the show. Now, I don't believe every single little bitty thing that they
but it
say.
At least makes you think. And
it does,
and that's what I like. I want to hear things. I want to be challenged, and I want to...
Yeah.
Even if it's something that... I haven't heard all of it. There's places that I've never heard, like Pumapunka and all these places you don't... And so you learn about it, and you culture, and it makes you think about it. So it introduces you, it opens your mind up. And that's what I think a lot of what Ancient Aliens is. and why it is so interesting.
And that's one of the points that they make, is that they really want this to expand your consciousness.
And another thing about the show is that it's so interesting and fascinating that even though in those ancient times, in different parts of the world, there were pyramids, and how is it possible, if there was no communication like there is today, for them to have, similar, pyramids? I mean, there's pyramids all over the world, and similar things in different cultures, in ancient times. It's like, how can that be possible? So it's just really, really interesting and fascinating.
Yeah, it's almost like there had to be some sort of communication line for everyone to have this type of shape. I mean, you don't have to be a super genius to say, okay, well, anyone could have figured out a pyramid. Anybody could, like that. But the pyramids are so very similar to each other. It's like I think
they have someone right down
guiding.
To some of the measurements and styles are so similar in all these completely different cultures, and that's what's fascinating, because it makes you think about that. Like, how did that happen? Why are these things the way they are?
What if it's possible?
Exactly.
There we go.
Yeah. I wish I could get Robert Clotworthy to do the intro to my show.
Oh man, I met him, and he's
he is, isn't he?
Like
I've
met
him too.
Nicest
guy, so
yes,
sweet, very very nice,
very nice.
Yes, I wish I would have thought about that. I'll give you $50, dude. Just say this into my phone. Yeah.
You might have.
I have another friend that I met at the first Alien Con. Her name is Lindsay. Hi, Lindsay. She got David Hatcher Childress to do her voicemail on her phone.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my, that's so cool.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
You just ask him.
I would have
totally
loved. My husband does a great impression of him, and it's the best.
Maybe you should get him to do your.
I could. He would probably be able to do it, and it would sound believable because he does a great job of it.
Well, I think I told you this when we were talking earlier, but the very first Alien Con was so phenomenal in the fact that all these guys that were here now, with the exception of maybe one or two, they were all here before, and they were literally just walking around. And of course, everywhere they went, there was like an ant colony, following behind them, because everybody wanted to get a picture, everyone wanted to talk to them, everyone wanted to shake their hands, everybody wanted to tell them their experience, And they were very gracious, and they took as much time as they could to talk to people. But things that people are doing now, which is like standing in line to pay for a picture, standing in line to pay for an autograph, we did none of that. It was all free, 100%.
Wow.
100%. They had, we were in the Santa Clara area at the convention center, and there's a hotel and stuff attached to it, and around one of the swimming pools, they set up little tables and umbrellas, and they had all of the major stars there. They had, except for Sucralose, he was not there, but everybody else was. Ariel, the Rabbi Ariel Bar, Tazak, David Hatcher Childress, Jonathan Young, Jason Martell, Nick Pope. Let's see, Linda Moulton Howe wasn't there. There was like maybe a couple of others that were there. They were all just like these little stations. There was a line for days, but they let us go through the line, and they waited until everyone got through, which took a very long time. And you went up to them, you got to say hello, fan of the show. They would shake your hand, take a picture. Here you go. They'd take it with your device. There you go. Give it back to you. Does that look good to you? Yep. Sometimes they would just like snap, 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 snap. Take like 3 or 4 pictures and say, take the best one. Take them all. Because it was on your device. You just went down the row, and that was great. And
I would have preferred that.
Yeah, a lot of people would have, and even Giorgio, who is like the face of Ancient Aliens, he would hold these kind of like meet and greets, and he likes to sit at tables. I've noticed, so he would sit at this table, and you just file, past him and shake his hand, and he would sign autographs. I got him to sign it. They gave everybody posters, so I went around and I had everyone except for Linda Moulton Howe signed my poster. Wow. I even got Clotworthy to sign my poster.
Oh, wow.
So that's my collectible from the first one. I fanboyed out big time,
Oh, I bet.
And I got pictures with all of them, and I just did the whole thing. The only thing that I regret is I didn't get to get my picture taken with Jim Mars, and who has now passed away. He passed away last year. So, that's the only one that I'm like, oh God, I should have gotten a picture with him. But
and unfortunately, when we purchased tickets, Von Daniken wasn't actually on the main ticket.
He wasn't there at the first one either.
So once I guess it came out, they just sold so fast. I couldn't get a photograph or an autograph at all. So it was unfortunate today or all weekend that I've been around for Thursday. We just literally couldn't even have access to him at all.
So what are your overall feelings about how things went at the convention as far as, just being able to number one, go to the lectures that you wanted to, and number two, do the extra things that you wanted to do?
You want to go?
Sure. I think the first day we got here, it was kind of crazy. Yeah, because they had the gold and silver pass members lining up. People were getting there very early. I noticed that they had another section of people already lining up all the way around the side of the convention. Those would have been the bronze. They were the bronze people, apparently, bronze passes. So the silver and gold it was a crazy line. They didn't start letting people in until exactly 9 o'clock. And they were kind of like letting a couple people in here, letting a couple people kind of go in. I guess they didn't want to flood the people that were scanning your information and giving you your passes. So I would say we went in, we bought merchandise, went to the very first talk that they had, which was Meet the Producers, I believe. Thoroughly enjoyed it. We were happy because we were like, this is going great. Doing things, checking things off the little schedule that we had made for ourselves, the things we wanted to do. Yeah. So we leave that first talk, we get outside, and there are still all the bronze people in line, and still silver and gold. Now this is probably 2 hours into this, and they are still processing people outside. And it was so hot. A lot of people were wheelchairs or handicapped. Sweating, elderly people. We were kind of worried for them. We're in the healthcare field, so it was kind of. We were a little upset about that. Seeing that. Yeah. Did you want to?
Well, for me, it's been good. Sometimes we did have to wait a little while. The first day did get a little chaotic. Yesterday, it seemed to be a little bit more organized, but it was twice. Since there was so many people, it did get a little crazy. And the volunteers and some of the people were really snappy at people. And especially it's we paid a lot of money to come here. We even our travel expenses and everything. It wasn't cheap. You should at least be nicer. Don't talk down to people. We are all.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem that I had with that is the fact that we were only doing what we bought tickets, that they make you pay for these photos. They make you pay for autographs. I don't even know if they actually knew how much they sold, because I know at one point we were in one of the conference rooms. It was packed. There was probably the same amount of people outside the conference room still trying to get in. And we were actually leaving because our seats weren't that great, and there was just too much commotion. So we said, well, let's leave and we'll try to get into a different panel. As we were leaving, I actually, and I don't know if you heard that, but by the door, they were telling people, back away from the door. And they said the fire marshal walked through and is saying that y'all are breaking the law by blocking the doors. And the people were like, we're just standing in line trying to get into the panel. And so I don't understand why that was happening. Yeah, well, it didn't need to happen that way.
I personally believe that there's not going to be a venue that's going to be big enough to hold everybody that wants to see all the lectures, unless they rent out a literal football stadium
and do more like a convention style, where everybody's sitting and enjoying the same lectures. And everything, because I think that will be probably a little bit better. in that aspect.
Right.
But as far as the first day was, a little crazy. Yesterday was really crazy. But today was definitely a little nicer. That there was, it wasn't as many people. So we were able to enjoy it a little bit better today. And we got to meet some wonderful people.
We have met some wonderful people. I think you have someone that just arrived.
Yes. Hi.
Hi, I'm Hayley.
Hi, Hayley.
Hi, Hayley. Hayley, welcome to the show. I'm Sean.
Nice to meet you.
That's Tasha.
Hi.
And that's Betty.
Hi.
And we were just talking about their experiences. I'm glad that you showed up. Hey, everybody, we just had a late person come in, but that's okay because everything's going to work out great. So it happens on live shows, right? So I want to talk to you. I'm very interested in talking to you about your experience. So I want you to hang out right here for just a minute. Can you do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
You got like 30 minutes? Sweet. It's going to be great. So what was your favorite lecture that you went to, ladies?
I would say
the Chariots of the Gods. The 50 years of the Chariots of the Gods.
I had to say that was probably mine too. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It was wonderful.
That was really good. The producers, that was really good too because, I got to listen or hear how the show really got started and how it all came about and how eventually it grew to what it has, become now. And it keeps on growing and growing. And so it's been that was pretty good.
Right. And hearing how, just how Von Daniken met Giorgio and kind of they all came together with the producers and just hearing the whole background story was so intriguing. Because I have people all the time, well, how did Giorgio become involved if he's not really, an archaeologist or anything? But he tells you, and it makes together.
It makes sense. It does come together.
Sense.
Yeah. So what was your least favorite thing that you did?
My least standing in the line.
Staying in the lines? That makes sense,
some of those lines were really
really long.
Yeah. Really crazy long. And I mean, some of those lines were almost at the entrance of the
convention.
At the marketplace. And I mean, you had to stand in line for a really long time.
Yeah. I don't miss the lines, that's for sure.
That's for sure. That's one thing I'm glad. But I will say, despite that, I mean, I have to say, I'm such a huge fan of Giorgio's that
you would have stood in line for a while.
I would have done anything for him because he's our...
I would never have guessed that you're a fan of Giorgio's
since
your shirts and all you've done is talk about him
the whole time. I probably have 7 Giorgio shirts at this point.
Some that we bought for each other.
Yeah.
And...
Well, that's kind of what how we met was because I had my unique Giorgio shirt and you were like, "Hey, where can I get that?" I was like, "Oh, you can't anymore."
I was like,
So I know you ladies have to go here in a second. Yes. So one last question for the both of you. You ever had an experience? You ever seen a UFO?
Unfortunately not.
No.
We've been wanting to. I've been wanting to watch or at least see a UFO, but no.
Same here.
No.
Never saw anything. But we've met people that have told us about.
Yeah.
Outside of this.
Actually, we did. We have met patients. Actually, this one patient of mine told me that he did see a UFO. We're from San Antonio and Texas, and he saw a UFO. On coming out of the water in Canyon Lake in the 1950s or something like that. So that was like a long time ago, and he was with his best friend and his cousin. They were out fishing early in the morning, and then they all saw it, and then after that they never spoke about it because they didn't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
So that's like about the closest I've been to an experience, but hopefully maybe one day that would
as
happen.
long as it's a positive situation.
Yes, definitely.
I don't want to meet any negative, mean, probing. I mean, we probe because we're hygienists, but I don't want to be probed.
Gotcha.
Definitely.
Okay, you're the prober, not the probing.
We're the probers. We don't want to be probed. Yeah.
So let me give you a piece of advice. If you want something to happen, stop wishing for it so bad.
Well, we're not really crazy.
You're not that crazy about it. Okay.
No, but we would love just to see.
You will.
Even just.
You will eventually if you keep watching this, guys. You will.
Yeah.
So, last question for you. And I know the answer to this is going to be yes, but I'm going to ask this anyway because it's so obvious I have to. Are you believers? You believe that or are you just fans of the show?
Of course, I am.
I want to believe, I'm open-minded to it.
I believe.
Absolutely.
I do believe.
All right.
I think you'd be foolish not to believe that.
Yeah.
There's something.
Universe
else
is too
out
big,
there.
right?
The
It's too
universe
big.
is so big. I mean, how can tiny little planet and us, being so small, be the only ones, and this whole big universe? I mean, that's just ludicrous to even think that way.
Absolutely.
So, definitely.
Well, thank you for being part of the show and for telling me about your experiences with Alien Con.
It was a pleasure.
Will you be back if they? I know there's one in Baltimore, but if they have another one like next year or later on, will you? You think you'll be back, or is this it? Just good enough for you?
Well, it depends. What's going on around that time.
Yeah.
I'm in dental school, so I'll be in school. Depends if
good luck
what's
with
going on with school.
I have one semester left, and I'm done
school
forever.
is the most important thing. So it all depends. It all depends what's going on with our.
I mean, I would do it again.
We would consider it.
We would consider it, yeah.
Especially
as long as it was run a little bit smoother.
Yes.
Growing pains, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right. Well, I know you ladies have to go. I really appreciate it. And just as a final thing, I gave you a card, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So the show here will be up within, give it 48 hours. It's going live right now, but I'll have the archive up on my website, ParaReality.com, in about 48 hours. You can go there. It'll be on the homepage. You can download it for free, save it to your computer, give it out to all your friends. Say, hey, I'm famous now. Make them. You can sign autographs for them. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you. And
You're
thank
welcome.
You to the
And
listeners.
I know how to contact you guys. I've got your
You have my info.
info. Yeah. I'm going to be contacting you. I'm going to keep in touch with both of you. Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be
Sounds good.
contacting you. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for agreeing to appear on the show.
Thank you.
Nice
Bye bye.
Nice to meet you, babe.
Bye. Nice meeting you.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Have a safe trip home.
Thank you. You too.
Just kind of sit there in front of you. Hey, don't feel like you have to lean forward into the mic because you don't. That's a very sensitive microphone. All you got to do is just sit there and just talk normally, just like what you're doing right now. Okay?
Great.
So, tell me.
Everything? I mean, what part? There's a whole lot to tell.
So, tell me, number one, first of all, just you don't have to give your last name, but just kind of introduce yourself and tell me a little. Just tell my listeners a little bit about who you are. Just very briefly.
My name is Hayley. I'm a college student at UT Tyler, University of Texas at Tyler. I'm an archaeology major.
All right.
My minor is medieval and Renaissance history. I'm very passionate about history, and that's why I got so into the show Ancient Aliens. And it all kind of stemmed back from the time I was a child. I've always seen and talked to spirits. From the time I was a baby, 2 to 3 years old, my family would catch me in the closet or in random places looking at the wall, talking gibberish as a baby. And as I got older, I would talk to dead relatives I'd never met. And they'd ask me who I was talking to, and that's who I would tell them I was speaking to.
Interesting.
From that time, I'd always had these dreams that were like, not prophecies, but they were symbolic for things going to happen in my life. And so after a while, I started analyzing each dream, and it would tell me about certain events that are going to be occurring. So that being said, when I was about 13, I had what I thought was a dream, but I also believe that the dreams that we have are, we all vibrate at a different frequency, and I think that dream state is similar to the meditative state.
Okay.
And so I think when you are relaxed and in that state, your mind opens you to different things, including different dimensions, different places. And so when I was 13, I had what I thought was just a really bad dream, and that was really my first visitation. The first time I was visited, I was 13, and it started off like it was a normal day, and I was playing outside with the neighborhood kids, and I was the oldest kid there. Then all of a sudden, this UFO just lands at the end of our street, and it was
in the middle of the day.
Yes.
Wow.
In this dream that I'm
in
having.
the dream. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
And like I said before, I really feel like it's kind of a parallel, not universe, but a different dimension per se. When we're dreaming, we operate, differently.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I had seen the spaceship land, and when it landed, it had what looked like machine guns, and they did not appear to be friendly at the beginning. But I was the oldest kid, and I've always wanted to take care of everybody, so I went to go see what they wanted. And when I arrived at the spaceship, I looked to see a gray alien, what we call grays. He was about 4.5 feet tall, but he was green. He had big bulging black eyes, like your typical alien that you see everywhere. But he did not speak. He did not have physical ears. The communication was just solely telepathic.
Yeah.
And so he spoke to me, and I really can't recall what he was saying other than he had questions. He wanted to talk to me and get to know me and who I was, which I thought was very odd. Whatever he had told me, I couldn't remember, but he had told me a fair share amount of information that I could not recall. So I ended up leaving, and I remember specifically he had 3 fingers. He was wearing a blue hoodie, which I thought was kind of funny.
Okay.
And he was very short.
I've never heard of anyone say I saw an alien wear a blue hoodie. So
yeah, me either. So it's kind of unique. Anyway, so then I woke up, and I thought I'd had a really bad dream. Well, then some weeks go by, maybe a couple months, and I have a second visitation from the same alien.
Okay.
And this
another
time,
dreamlike visitation?
Yes.
Okay.
And at this point, I am in our old house in San Antonio, and I'm playing outside, and I see this spaceship coming, but I was scared for some reason. I was afraid of what he was going to talk to me about, of what he was going to tell me, although I really couldn't recall what it was that we'd even spoken about initially. So I run into the house, and I hide somewhere, and he comes in and says, "You need to come out and talk to me now. If you don't, I'm going to use force. I'm going to be aggressive."
Oh.
And it's still completely telepathic. And so I finally came out and spoke to him. I didn't like it. I did not like what he was telling me. Although, like I said, I still don't know what it was he was telling me. Later on, probably about a year after my first visitation in my dream, I had another one. And this is the final one from this alien. At this point, I was with friends, and it was like a birthday party, one of my close friends' birthday parties. Mm-hmm. The parents were inside, the kids were outside playing, and I look up and I see it coming, and I'm like, oh no, all the kids need to go inside, this is not good. So I try to get everybody inside, and everyone gets inside except my friend's dog, Asia. And I took everybody inside and said, don't go out, don't talk to anybody, don't listen to anyone, keep the curtains closed, don't say anything, don't open the door. And then all of a sudden, the doggy door opens, and the dog comes running in that was outside. And it was my friend's dog, and her name was Asia, and she comes running through. And then after that, this little creature, I guess that was alien, comes running in after it inside, and right in front of all the kids and parents, kills it.
Oh, no.
Kills the dog. And I feel like that was because I refused to go and meet willingly with the alien. Well, I finally go out and speak with him a final time, and that was the last time I saw him. All these years, I really didn't know what he was talking about, or what he was telling me, or what we discussed. And then about a year ago, like I said, I see spirits, and I've always been really sensitive to energies. I was having this kind of spiritual awakening, and I was kind of struggling with religion and all of that. So meanwhile, I'm seeing these spirits everywhere. I'm afraid of these spirits. I don't know how to handle it, because growing up, I was taught that was something to be ashamed of, and that I can't tell anybody. So I dealt with it pretty much on my own, and I really couldn't control it. I was afraid of all of it. It scared me. And there was this lady that I went to because initially I was having all these memories of past lives, which is a whole other story, but I went to her to talk about that, and it all happened at once during this spiritual awakening I was having. And I told her, look, I can't even sleep at night because all these spirits are coming at me all night long. It's one thing after another. I wake up and there's a woman trying to choke me as I'm getting out of bed, and then there's this shadow figure running back and forth in the corner of my bedroom, and I get so angry because I just want to go to sleep, and I pounce on it, but it disappears. So after all this chaos, all this spiritual unrest and everything, I go to this lady, this local lady, and I talk to her about everything. And she told me, I can just tell, there's so much going on with you right now. You just need to talk about it. So I told her. And there was no one else that I could, even telling her the situation with the aliens, because it was on my mind. I said, it's just bothering me. I feel like there's something I'm supposed to understand from this, and I don't understand. Yeah. And so we talked about everything, and we talked about the, spiritual experiences I was having with the spirits, and she told me, they're coming in from different places. They're not all from the same place. Not all of them are bad, not all of them are good. And that I just had to learn to control it. And essentially, she taught me how to control it, and that really helped. And when we discussed the alien situation, she told me, I asked her, what's the message? And she said, it's inside of you. You already know. And I said, no, I don't know the answer.
You just couldn't remember.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is for all these years, I couldn't remember. And she said, the answer's inside of you. She goes, there's a reason you don't remember it. And
what brought it out? I mean, do you remember it now?
Yes, I do. And it was that moment I was sitting there with Arlene, and I looked at her, and she said, you know the answer, Hayley. And I said, no, I really don't. And she just kind of smiled, and I sat there for a second, and then it hit me, and I just thought, oh my gosh. And I was just astounded, and I looked at her, and I knew she knew what I was thinking. I knew she knew, and she just smiled. And she said, come on, say it. I want to hear you say it. And I said, they were telling me that I was part of them. And it was really scary because it wasn't like they were being friendly and treating me like, lost family or anything. Yeah. It was very kind of hard to take in and absorb. And so that was what I realized, that my soul came from other places.
So you feel like not necessarily physically you are an half alien or part alien or whole alien. You feel like spiritually, like your soul is...
Spiritually, yes. If I have been abducted, I don't remember, but I do believe I have an implant in my back that you can feel. And it's crazy because I just woke up with it one day. And it was
really?
While I was, it was a few years ago. It was after my visitations that I'd had. After a dream one night, I woke up the next day and I kind of realized, like, that's not supposed to be there. And it wasn't there before.
Is it small, tiny?
It's small, and it almost feels like a small little cube beneath my skin.
You tried to have it x-rayed or anything like that?
Not yet. Not yet. I've kind of been waiting to see if it moves, shifts, or if anything changes over the past few years. And when I'd go to the doctor for other things, I'd ask, and they'd say, if it's not bothering you, we don't need to look at it.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, they're always going to say that.
Yeah.
I'm in the medical profession. I don't know. That's what we're going to say. Does it bother you? Does it hurt? Yeah, you're good.
No, but it's driving me crazy not knowing what it is.
I know, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So with all of these things that are happening to you, that have been happening to you, it sounds like there for a long while you were living in a little bit of chaos.
I was very depressed, anxious. I could not control my emotions, feelings. I didn't sleep.
So has what did you say her name was? Arlene?
Arlene, yes.
Are you still in contact with Arlene?
Occasionally, but I only went to her when I really needed her. And then
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was able to kind of figure out my way from there. After she told me, all of the answers are inside of you and you just have to, dive into that and learn yourself and your soul, I began meditating and just paying more attention to these dreams and to these feelings and thoughts I'd have. Because sometimes it's just like I have messages or voices telling me things. Mm-hmm. And so it's really hard. I just have to really pay attention and listen to that.
Do you feel like you have all of this somewhat under control now?
Yes, absolutely. And I wouldn't change it because it's made me who I am.
I'm gonna throw this out there, and you do what you want to with it. That's just the light. Don't worry about it. Speaking of ghosts and everything, one of the lights just went out. Imagine that. It happens. So I'm gonna give you the name of this guy, and I'm gonna get in contact with him too, and I'm gonna tell him about you, and maybe the two of you can get together, and not physically get together, but like maybe exchange some emails or maybe even talk on the phone. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. His name is Rick Hayes. You may not have ever heard of this guy. He's from the Kentucky area, somewhere in Kentucky. I can't remember. I want to say Louisville. I'm sorry, Rick, if you ever listen to this. I can't remember, but I think it's Louisville, Kentucky. But he's what he calls a paranormal consultant. He sees dead people. He can talk to them. He doesn't like to use the word psychic medium or anything like that. He says, I'm a paranormal consultant. But he has, like you, had his gift from a young age and pretty much ignored it until really he became an adult. And then he had an event that changed his life, and he now basically tries to help people. Mm-hmm. So I think if I can put the two of you in contact with each other, I think that he may be able to give you some guidance on how to further handle your ability. Because I'm not going to sit here and say, I know what you're going through, because I don't. I have no earthly idea. And also at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and say, you are effing crazy. I'm not going to say that either, because I mean, look at what the subject we're talking about here. And I honestly 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt know that people like you do exist. They're real, they're legitimate. My good friend Rick Hayes is one of those people. And just from talking with him, and I've also talked to a lot of other psychics and mediums and stuff over the years that I've been doing the show, and talking with them, I can understand that it can be a hard thing to go through, especially if you feel like you can't tell anybody. And I mean, who wants to go around and say, hey,
well,
I can do this. I can see that, and I think that's wonderful about you, to be so young and to say, hey, I'm past it. I don't care what you think now. This is it. This is how I am.
I didn't get past it till yesterday when something told me to go talk about it. Yes, I'd never told anybody before.
Okay.
So that was a major.
So you were serious when you said you had never really told anyone about this before.
Yesterday I was shaking and I could barely talk.
You're a little shaky now. You seem like you're a little nervous now to me.
much less so than yesterday. Yesterday was a whole other ball game, especially speaking in front of all these people and it being, filmed for a potential episode of Ancient Aliens. That really scared me because if anybody I know sees that, well, they're just going to know, and I try to keep it secret my whole life because I didn't want, friends and coworkers and other people to find that out and think I was a nutcase.
So this was in the I Was Abducted panel?
Yes.
Okay. You remember Brett Oldham? He was one of the panel members. Mm-hmm. He's a good friend of mine.
Oh, really?
He and I, we've hung out together and stuff before. I've interviewed him a few times on the show. We were actually, we had this business we tried to get into, this business venture. I'm not going to get into it, but it failed miserably, unfortunately. He's a good person to talk to about visitations and everything. He's a very knowledgeable. He's very knowledgeable in that area because he himself has been taken and had experiments and stuff done on him. And you're not to the point to where you can remember everything. And hopefully you've never had anything like that done to you.
I would not.
Yeah, I would hope not either. I mean, who really wants to be, taken and experimented on? Really?
No one.
I mean,
think.
One of the things that was said in one of the panels that I went to yesterday is that one lady said that most of the people that she talked to said that they would never want to have their experiences taken away from them. They wouldn't change it if they could, like 70-something% in this survey or whatever. And I don't know. It all depends upon what you've had done to you. I mean, if you've just been taken and sitting down and say, hey, we want to learn about you. That's one thing. Sure, I'll take that. Sure, But I don't wish to have. I don't want to be violated. I don't want to have my sperm forcibly removed. I don't want to be anally probed, and I don't want to have experiments done on me. And if I could take all that away, if I was having those experiences, and I could say, I can make it where that never happened. Hell yeah, I would do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's got to be scary enough to realize that these things that you were having that you thought were dreams maybe necessarily were thought projections from somebody else projecting this into your head as a form of communication. And I guess that would make you feel kind of like you really don't have control over your own life.
Not necessarily. I think that with these dreams that I have, my whole life, I've been able to remember almost every single one, and I've always felt that it was for a specific reason. And I had talked to, what was her name? She was on the panel yesterday. Caroline.
Yes.
And she had mentioned that, having these dreams can be experiences in other, dimensions, which is what I thought might be the case, or even if it was projected into my brain as in some telepathic communication while I was asleep. That's one thing, but still the message was still trying to be conveyed to me. And there was another experience I'd had after that. And after this experience, I was dreaming as well. And it was really difficult because I could not see this thing at first, and I knew it was in my house in this dream, but I couldn't find it. But it was there. And I was looking, I'm crawling around the house, and I opened the attic, and there it is, just sitting there. And it was this reptilian, I don't know. This
reptilians are not good. They're never good.
Everything that I could see about him screamed reptilian, but it was almost like he had the elongated and body of a gray. Like, he was tall, but he wasn't as green, and he was a little bit softer looking, had more of a human muscular system that he was much more kind. And he also communicated telepathically, and he said, I was waiting for you to find me when I found him. And I was very shocked, and I said, who are you, and why are you in my attic?
Yeah.
And he said, you don't remember me? I said, no. And he told me, I'm from home. I came to talk to you. I haven't seen you in so long. And I said, what are you talking about?
Oh, no.
Well, then he proceeds to tell me that we were lovers, that we were partners, and my previous life, I guess, wherever this was. I don't know where he was from or where it was, but he said, yeah, I was coming to check on you on Earth. And he was asking me all these questions about being human and everything. And everything with them was much more intellectual. Like, though we had a romantic relationship, we were physically intimate, but it was more of an intellectual intimacy. I can't really explain it. It was just very different.
Wow.
And that was a positive experience I had with him. And I remember in this dream state, whatever I was in, we were just laying in bed just talking about everything. I was telling him about my life and where I've been and what I've gone through and things that I've learned and places I've been. And he was just, telling me all these things about back home and what's happening and the way that we're advancing at home technologically.
Did he tell you where he's from? Did he name?
I can't, no, not that I can recall. He just kept saying home, from home, at home, back home. And so I can see that, like, after the Greys were telling me I was part of them, I don't know if they were being specifically saying that I was a Grey, or if I was just, not from here, from Earth.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of confusing and hard to understand, but I'd definitely like to learn more about where I've come from. Arlene, the lady I'd gone to previously, had made a comment saying that she thinks that I also have ancient roots from Lemuria. But that's almost science fiction. We don't know anything about that for sure.
Huh. Have you thought about, like, some hypnosis, past life regression type stuff?
Absolutely. I just don't. I live, out in the woods in East Texas, and I don't really know if there's anybody out there in that area that'd be willing to do that, or if I'd have to, I've never even begun to try to search because it's just all confusing and I wasn't sure. But this weekend, I saw someone there that did hypnosis, and so past life regression, and I really want to know. I know I've had past lives here on Earth, but now it seems too that I've had past lives elsewhere.
You really need to get that done.
Yes, and I've always had this homesickness that even my parents growing up, I didn't have a good relationship with my parents. I didn't feel like I knew them. Mm-hmm. I never felt like I had that family connection, that mother-daughter, father-daughter relationship. I was always sad and homesick, even though I was home. But
oh, no.
And it's always been that way.
Excuse me. Well, let me tell you something about hypnosis. I've been hypnotized twice in my life. First time did not work whatsoever. The second time, I'm thinking probably it did. I have found that the more open you are to the idea of being hypnotized, the more it will take. If you're a very strong-willed individual and you go in there without putting that wall down, it's not going to work. Not everybody can be hypnotized. I don't care what anybody says. Not everybody can be hypnotized. And it's you have to be open to it, and you have to take whatever wall of protection you've got up. You've got to tear down that wall in order for it to take. And I think that one of the only ways you're going to find out the answers that you seek is to do this. Or if you can get one of those people who come to you when you're dreaming, if you can get them to just lay it all out for you. But it sounds like they're kind of more willing to talk in circles than they are to tell you or give you a direct answer, which is the norm.
Right. And sometimes I
they
feel
want
like
to keep you confused.
Yeah, they want to bring me a little bit and see what I can either recall spiritually, or what I can find out on my own and find in myself, and then it's almost like they don't want to give me all of the answers. They kind of want to leave it to me to figure out, which is kind of difficult because it's like I want to know where I'm from. I want to know, about my origins and where I came from. And it's always made sense to me that I'm from the stars. Like I've always, from the time I was a child, I was obsessed with the stars. And when I was a little kid, my grandpa would take me out every night and we'd go walk down the street and look at the stars, and he'd tell me different constellations, but I'd always I couldn't keep my eyes off them. That's all I wanted to do is sit and watch. And it didn't matter if there's anything in the sky. I would just want to sit and stare.
Well, if you can figure out how to really channel your talents and your abilities, I think that you have the potential to help a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to say I would do anything to have your abilities, but I would love to be able to know that I could talk to someone whose loved one has passed on and help them find resolution or use my abilities in that manner. And I think that it sounds like that you have potential. You really have potential. I think if you can find someone to help you hone your skills a lot, I think that you could go far. And I'm not saying you're going to be one of those celebrity people who has their own TV show or whatever, but maybe,
right?
But I think it's great that you are to the point now to where you're embracing everything. And I know the first step obviously was yesterday, but didn't it feel like maybe you had this big burden taken off of your shoulders?
It was just, I could just feel, and I don't even think it was me that wanted to go up there and talk. Honestly, there was just something.
Think someone was driving you up there?
Yes, yeah. I was not going to. I was sitting here I was there with my aunt, and she kept saying, "Hayley, go up there and tell your story. Just go." And I said, "I can't. Like, it's hard for me to even give a speech to my small class at my university, And so I was freaking out, and there's hundreds of people.
There's a lot of people there,
my favorite people from Ancient Aliens, a TV show that I love, and I'm already, it's just insane to see them in person. So to go up there and speak in front of them about my experiences, anywhere else I would have felt like a nutcase, but in this environment, it feels so safe and open. Yeah. And, you know, there's nothing you can say that's...
Yeah. There might have been thousands of people there, but there were thousands of friends.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, I went to the first part of the I Was Abducted lecture, and I did not get to go to the second one. So I missed you up there. So you obviously at the second one, because I don't remember you from the first one.
I was, and I didn't go to the first one. So
we missed each other. Yeah. It wasn't meant to be. So I take it you're her aunt, right? Yes. So when she was telling you about all this, did you think she was crazy?
No, because I believe in all that. I'm not stupid enough to think that we're the
That's
only
great.
thing in this world.
That's great, because you need support, especially from your family.
And ever since she was like this high, she was talking to people that we couldn't see.
I mean, who knows? From the time I was a child, it could have been, you know, beings in another dimension. It could have been ghosts.
You don't know.
I don't know. I don't remember. But I just feel kind of blessed now because
you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You're going to figure it out. I know you will.
I really want to. And it was really wonderful to go up there yesterday and talk because the reception was just incredible. I didn't expect anyone to come up to me and like want to talk to me, but I mean, after I talked, there was a few people that came to me and wanted to ask me questions, and they're like, I could tell you were on the verge of saying something else. What was your other experience? So I told them about the reptilian or whatever it might have been and that experience. And so then someone else last night at the party, I was walking out of the bathroom and this lady runs up to me and she's just like, oh my gosh, Hayley. And I said, yes. And she's probably in her 60s. She said, I just had to tell you there's just something inside you and I saw it and I just want you to know you're chosen. And I said, great. What? And she was just like, yes. And it is so wonderful you got up there and spoke today because there were other people that needed to hear that too. Yeah. And I noticed there wasn't a lot of other younger people speaking about their experiences. Yeah. So I really hope that kind of inspires other people.
Yeah, you can be an inspiration.
I hope so.
And I really do hope that they use your segment on the show. That would be excellent. I know I got up at the on the first one, and I asked my friend Brett a question that I've been dying to ask him for years. I'd never asked him that, but I don't have an experience, you know. So there's no way in hell they're going to put me on the show, and I wasn't. That's not what I wanted to do anyway. You know, I could care less about that. But I've never had an experience. I've seen a couple of UFOs, but that's as far as I can go. You know, I can't say anything any further than that.
And speaking of sightings, the first sighting I had, and really the only one I can remember, actually occurred when I was about 4 years old. And
you remember that?
Yes, I remember it. And it wasn't until after the first. This is really bizarre, but it wasn't until after the first, encounter. I'd say the first dream I had, but I recalled it later on. But it was when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and I was little, and my parents owned a store in San Antonio, and we'd leave late from work, and my mom would carry me asleep to the car and put me in my seat, and, you know, my child seat, and buckle me up, and I was asleep. And so I remember opening my eyes as she's buckling me up, and there was this big billboard outside that was lit up, and it had Santa Claus on there, and he was drinking a Coke. It was a Coke advertisement. Yeah. And I looked above it and saw a UFO hovering above the sign. And I just remembered it, you know, years later. And I'd always had this memory in my brain. I'd had the memory, I knew it, but I never thought of it to be a UFO. It just never really clicked until later on. And I was thinking about it. First, I saw a Coke sign somewhere, the same advertisement, and it just,
bam, brought it back.
Yeah, I realized it was a UFO and not just, you know, a light in the sky. And I thought, oh, that's a UFO. That's what someone would call a UFO. It was kind of a crazy,
Well, at 4 years old, you don't know what a UFO is.
Exactly. Yeah. And you don't know anything, so you're not surprised by anything, really. Yeah. You don't know that that's not good. That, like, as a child, when I would see spirits, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to. I just did.
Right.
That was kind of the same idea.
It's not that you're not supposed to, it's just that you're special.
Yeah.
Or it's that way.
No one else thinks we're supposed to.
I think, if you talk to people like my friend Rick Case I was telling you about, we all have that ability. We just, over the millennia, we've forgotten.
Exactly. I think that everyone has the capability and the abilities to do it, but it's just a matter of who is willing to, not only believe, but believe in yourself and to tap into that ability.
Yeah. We could spend the next hour talking about stuff like that, you know, and once again, I think it's great that you are to the point. And would you say you're 22?
No, I'm only 18. I graduated high school 2 years early.
I don't know where I got 22 from. Okay, so you're only 18. Oh my God. Okay, so yeah, you're at the point, you're super right now primed and ready to make that big life step. And not just in the fact that you're, you know, embracing this and you want people to know and you want to know more about who you are and where you came from and how to use your abilities. But I mean, for Christ's sake, you're 18. You're fixing to go to college.
Well, I actually just finished my sophomore year.
You just finished your sophomore year, so you graduated early.
I graduated when you were
17.
Really?
16. Almost. I graduated when I was 17, so you got me beat. Damn.
Yeah, I'm going to be a junior this coming fall.
Wow, that's
studying
great.
archaeology,
That's
wonderful.
that is great. That is great. Well, we're running out of time here, so real quick, let's talk about the convention real quick. Here. Okay, so have you been a fan of the show since its beginning?
Not since the beginning. I would see it on TV and kind of it was background noise. But then a couple years ago, actually, a year after my first encounter in my dream, I put it on the TV, and for some reason it stuck. And then the history and all these megalithic sites, and actually the show is what inspired me to pursue a career in archaeology. So I've been touring Central America and Mexico, going to archaeological sites.
Did you tell anybody from the show about that? You should have if you didn't.
I tried to tell Giorgio, but I was freaking out because I love him. You know,
Everybody loves the Sukalos.
Yes,
yeah.
I was crying after I met him. I tried to tell him, and he was like, "That's great. You need to keep doing what you do." And I was like, "Oh, thank you. I love you." But I mean, it was just wonderful, and I think that he was really happy about that. But if I had another opportunity, I would definitely like to spend more time talking with him about that.
He's a very smart guy. He's very open, and he loves all of his fans to death. I mean, he really does. One of the things I was talking about before you came in was the very first convention was in Santa Clara a couple of years ago, and I think that was the experiment for them to see if this was something that was going to be viable. They didn't. Now, it had its problems, just like this one had its problems.
Oh, yeah.
The main problem is that there's too many people, and they're not going to have a venue that's going to be big enough. That's the main problem. But the best thing about that first convention was that these guys were just walking around. And, everywhere they went, there was throngs of people behind them. But they would stop and they would talk to you. They'd shake your hand. They'd let you take a picture or whatever. They tried their best to accommodate as many people as they could. But we didn't have to stand in line to pay for pictures or autographs. It was all free.
Yeah.
100% of it. And those of us who got to go to that first one really got to experience something special. I mean, that very first one was like, yeah, because you're not going to have another one like that again.
Yeah.
So would you like? I know they're having one in Baltimore in November, which I probably am not going to go to because it's probably going to be the same exact thing that was here. But if they have more, would you be open to going to more? Or
absolutely. And actually, I think it's the first weekend of November. I'm going to Mesa, Arizona to go to MUFON's field investigator training. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Man, you have got a lot going on. I like that. You and I are going to have to stay in touch.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, for sure. And I'm definitely going to put you in contact with my friend Rick Hayes. You want to hang out for just a second while I close this thing out?
Sure.
All right, great. Everybody, man, what a great last half hour. This has been talking to Hayley from San Antonio. My other guests were from San Antonio. Mm-hmm. That is so freaky. Small world. Big state, though. Big city. So, yeah, man. I am so glad that you were finally able to come. For a minute there, I was thinking, she changed her mind, or maybe couldn't find the place or whatever. So I'm glad that you came, and I'm glad that we got to talk to each other. And thank you so much for this, like, literally last-minute type thing. I know, never met this dude before, and this guy's saying, "Hey, come on over to my hotel room and let's do a podcast." Yeah, so I appreciate you being willing to come over and tell your story to basically the whole world, because this is going to go out on the interwebs, baby, and this is going to go. Anyone who wants to download this can download it. So now your story's going to be out there. There's no taking it back.
Cat's out of the bag. What can I say?
All right, everybody. Whew, wow, this hour has gone by so quick. Thank you guys for tuning in, and as always, this show is going to be available for replay there on my website on ParaReality.com. Don't know when I'm going to be back again. I don't have a set schedule to come back for the next time, but I got some really good stuff lined up for you guys with some new guests and all new stuff I got going on. So it's great to be back in podcasting. This has been my first podcast in a long while. Had to take a little bit of a break to do some personal stuff out there, as always happens. Life gets in the way, but I'm back, and I can't wait to continue our adventure together. And with that, I am going to sign off. And just remember, everybody, if you wish to change, you need to lift the veil of ignorance that's been cast over your eyes. Only then will you see the true power of the universe. I'm Sandman, and we'll see you guys later on.
If you wish to change, you must first lift the veil of ignorance that has been cast over your eyes. Only then will you see the true power of the universe.